For this skill, we'll be looking at use 12 and 24-hour time. This is lesson 3. The learning goal is to see how time is used in different formats, and the success criteria is to compare 12 and 24-hour time systems and convert between the two. So there's some prior knowledge that you need to be able to know before tackling this type of question. And again, it's assumed that you've already learned this in primary school, and that's just to know how to read an analog clock. Now with this analog clock, this first question here is we need to show the which clock for the 24-hour time is 1452. Now for 24-hour time, you'll notice that a little bit of a background behind how time works. We are used to the format of AM and PM. And what this actually means is AM stands for ante-meridiem. And meridium is just a Latin word for noon or middle, and ante meaning before. So AM just literally, when translated to English, just means before noon. Before noon. Noon being 12 o'clock in the middle of the day. And then PM, the P in the PM just stands for post, and this is post meridium. And post meridium just means past noon. So there's before noon and then there's past noon. So when we're talking about the morning, we're talking about ante-meridium, which is before noon. And when we're talking about the afternoon, and it literally says it in the word after noon or post meridium, past noon. And we're so used to this format. But then we get introduced to 24-hour time. And 24-hour time just means it uses the numbers from 0 to 24 inclusive to determine the time, whether it's in the morning or whether it's in the afternoon. So how this works is also called military time, is that every single time in the morning literally is the same. The only difference is we don't use the AM. We take the AM out, and also for PM, but we'll get to that in a second. And the other thing we do, it doesn't show this in the actual questions within a central assessment, but we actually don't use the 2 dots in the middle of the time, or the semicolon, as what we're so used to. So for instance, 0400, this is just 4 AM or 4 in the morning. There's no AM and there's no 2 dots. And the other thing we need to make sure is that when we read military time, 24-hour time, if the number is a single digit, so from 1 all the way to 9, we have to make sure we put that 0 there as a placeholder. This also indicates to the reader that we're dealing with 24-hour time. When it gets from 10 onwards, then obviously we'll just use 10, 11, 12, etc. When we go up to 12, which is noon, as soon as we click over, we're so used to then this AM changing into a PM, and then we start again from 1 all the way to 12 again. But in 24-hour time, we then start we continue to the next number after 12, which is 13. So 1 PM and 13 o'clock, technically the same. One's just in military format, where the other is in civilian format, or just normal time. And that's the main difference between 24-hour time. So here we can see that the time is 1452. Technically it should be written as 1452. Now 14 just means it's 2 PM. So 1452 means 2:52 PM. So the one that's 2:52 PM, so 2:52, 8 minutes to 3 o'clock, can't be this one. Can't be this one because this is going towards 4 o'clock. Has to be this one. Just double check. Can't be this one. This one must be the correct solution. So there's a bit of multitasking. You have to first convert it from the military time to civilian time, and then check the analog time accordingly. For the next question, which is 4:22 PM in 24-hour time? So 4:22, if you want to look back at that chart, 4:22, we're going to look at the 4 PM, and 4 PM is 16 within 24-hour time. So this will be 16:22. Now again, there technically should not be those 2 dots in the middle. but Essential Assessment has decided to put it in. But you'll notice that there's no AM or PM afterwards. You don't say 16:22 PM because that is a mixture of both 12 and 24-hour time, so you don't include this. So in this case, 16:22, which is 08:24 in 12-hour time. Now we're converting this back to 12-hour time, so when there's 12-hour time, we either need an AM or a PM. Ante-meridium or post-meridium. 08:24, well, that is just essentially the same 08:24 because we know we're talking about in the morning, and we just add the little AM. So in that case, this is our answer. So a lot of the questions that you'll see within Essential Assessment follow this format. Tell me if it's in either the afternoon or if it's in the morning, and convert to either 12 or 24-hour time accordingly. Last few questions. Mabel leaves home at 8:16 AM and arrives at school at 9:05. How long does it take for her to walk to school? Now, unfortunately, this is not just a simple subtraction where we get 9:05 and we subtract 8:16. And the reason why, and the main reason why, is because there are 60 minutes within 1 hour. If there were 100 minutes in an hour, then yes, we would use that base system and we can just go ahead and do the subtraction accordingly. But because there's 60 minutes in an hour, this changes a bit. So the first thing we want to do, how I break this down, is from 8:16 to 8:30. 8:30, I figure out how many minutes there are between these two. In this case, there's 14 minutes. So far from 8:16 to 8:30, there are 14 minutes. And then from 8:30 to 9 o'clock in the morning, there's another 30 minutes, so half an hour. And then from 9 to 9:05, there's obviously 5 minutes. And what you do is just the ones in red, you just calculate how many minutes that takes all up. So 14 plus 30 is 44, plus another 5 is 49 minutes. So that here will be the solution. Now again, there are different processes to how you would work this out, but this is what my brain does when trying to work this out. I do it into little chunks closest to half an hour or hours, and making sure that I also include my start time and what my end time is for each end. So look at this one. A soldier left the army base at 8, 24-hour time, and returned with the point of being in the army, and returned at 19:17. How long did this trip take? So in this case, I can work out straight away from 8 military time to 19 military time. I won't worry about the 17 just yet. So from 8 to 19, how long does that take? Well, that's 11 hours. All right, that's 11 hours. Then from 19 to 19:17, that's 17 minutes. So all up, this is 11 hours and 17 minutes, which is this answer here. So again, I did it in chunks. So we'll do one more like this. Now we just get into a different type of time here. I want to go from 6:32 in 24-hour time. So a plane departs Melbourne at 6:32 and arrives at Bali at 5:14. How long does this trip take? So let's go from 6:32. So 6:32. Now I can do this in one or two ways. I can do this from 6:32 to 7, and then go from 7 all the way to 5. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do a different way. I'm going to go from 6:32 all the way to not 17:32, because that's going too far. So I'm going to backtrack one before that, and I'm going to do 16:32. So from 6:32 to 16:32. So I don't want to do 17:32, that will make it too far. Let's see what that time amount is. And in this case, this will be 10 hours. Then from 16:32 to 17, that will be an additional 28 minutes. And then from 17, I should get out of the habit of not writing that in. From 17 to 17:14 is an additional 14 minutes. 14 minutes. So I'm adding 10 hours, 28 minutes, and 14 minutes. Well, all I gotta do is figure out what 28 plus 14 minutes is. In this case, it is 42 minutes. So all up, this is gonna take 10 hours and 42 minutes. So that is my answer here. And that's all it takes for this video, for this skill. Attempt different questions. There are some questions afterwards that talks about ordering from earliest to latest or latest to earliest, but that's relatively simple. You just got to make sure you have to convert accordingly. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.